after a 4-year long wait, it is finally November 5th, 2024. Of course, it's election day, and in less than 24 hours, we will likely know who the 47th president of the United States is going to be. Looking at the timer, there are just 6 hours to go. This marks the time until polls start to close in parts of Indiana and Kentucky, and then at 7 p.m., polls will close throughout the two states. That's when we'll get our first results. Voting will also end in Virginia, Vermont, South Carolina, and Georgia at the same time as well. And if you want to get my coverage of the election, make sure you join my stream on YouTube at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll go all night, early into the morning on November 6th, so you'll get all the coverage, presidential, Senate, governor, House races, everything we will account for. So make sure you join the stream at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on YouTube. And so in this video, I basically just wanted to talk about just some final thoughts I have, what to expect for the election. I also just wanted to go over my election forecast one more time, look at some of the final polls, as well as the betting markets. I guess we'll start here with the presidential forecast, where after 4 years of looking at this race, 3.5 with Joe Biden expected to be the Democratic nominee, and then another half year now with Kamala Harris at the top of the ticket, I have Donald Trump winning 287 electoral votes to Kamala Harris's 251. It is definitely going to be a close race. There's no doubt about it. But I will say that Trump is looking like he's in a good position. Compare this to where we were in 2020 or 2016. Both times Trump was supposed to go down in a landslide, but for the first time ever, people actually expect him to win. And so just to map out his victory for you guys here, obviously he's going to win all the solid red states. He's also going to carry Iowa, Ohio, Texas, Florida. If you look at that Iowa poll from Ann Seltzer with Trump behind by 3 points, that is just a garbage poll. Emerson had him up by, I think, a double-digit margin. Obviously, he's going to easily win Iowa. It's nothing to be bothered about. But when it comes to the battleground states, Arizona and Georgia are the must-wins for Donald Trump. He's going to have a very hard time getting to 270. It'll basically be impossible without these two races. Even though Joe Biden won both of them in 2020, Trump is looking very good in these two races. Just look at the betting markets here. Trump has a 78% chance of winning Arizona and a 69% chance of winning Georgia. He also needs to win North Carolina. That's going to be pretty important. Now, it's not as important as Arizona or Georgia, but not winning North Carolina is definitely going to hinder his ability to get to 270. And the good news for him is that the betting markets do give him a pretty high probability of winning. He's at 69%. He also leads in the polls in all three of these states. In Georgia, Trump's ahead by 1.3. In North Carolina, he's ahead by 1.2. And in Arizona, Trump leads by a whopping 2.8%. On top of that, he's going to need one additional state from the upper Midwest: Wisconsin, Michigan, or Pennsylvania. It could be any of the three. Now, it cannot be Nevada because it only has 6 electoral votes. If he wins Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, and Nevada, he's at 268. So he will need one of these three upper Midwestern states, and it's very likely right now that that state will be Pennsylvania. It's been expected to be the tipping point for quite a while now. The betting markets give Trump a 60% chance of winning. Meanwhile, Michigan does lean in favor of Harris, and Wisconsin is basically a pure toss-up with Harris at a slight advantage. In terms of polling, Trump is doing quite well. He leads in Pennsylvania, and considering that he's always underestimated in these surveys, he's in a pretty good spot. Now, I do think polls in 2024 will be a lot more accurate than they have been in the past, but still, they are projecting a Trump victory, which has never happened before. In states like Wisconsin and Michigan, Kamala Harris leads slightly. This is not the main reason why I have her winning, but just looking at the map, considering how close even Pennsylvania is, and with Wisconsin and Michigan expected to vote to the left of the Keystone State, I did place them in the Harris column. I have them to be incredibly close races. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Trump actually won them, but just to be safe for now, I did place them into the tilled blue category, but I do still have Trump coming out on top with victories in the Sun Belt and Pennsylvania. Nevada would be a pretty historic flip for the former president. It would be the first time any Republican had won it in 20 years. Looking at the national numbers, we see more good news for Trump. He really is in a pretty good spot here. Kamala Harris plus 0.1. This is absolutely not where she needs to be. She needs to be winning the popular vote by at least 3 points. Hillary Clinton won it by 2.1, and she only won 200 432 electoral votes. Joe Biden won the popular vote by 4.5. That was the only reason why he was able to get up to 306. So Kamala Harris doing worse than both Clinton and Biden basically assures that she is going to lose the electoral college. I do expect her to actually outperform this polling average, even though against Trump is always underestimated. I expect Harris to win the popular vote by around 1%. I really don't see it being any more than that. But as of right now, Donald Trump is in a very good position nonetheless. He is at his all-time high. You can look back at 2016 or 2020. Donald Trump has never polled at 48.6%. And with the election just a few hours away, he is more popular than he has ever been. Before I continue, I want to tell you guys about Polymarket, the world's largest prediction market, where you can track election results and instantly see who's leading. These odds react in real time to current events instead of days later like the polls. There's no bias or media spin, just pure data. Market odds reflect the collective analysis, beliefs, and wisdom of thousands of traders reacting to world events. Polymarket has also recently launched a mobile app where you can access their 2024 election forecast on the go. It's what I use every day to stay updated on the presidential race. Download it for free right now using the QR code on screen or the link in the description below. I also have a Senate forecast. I expect Republicans to do well in the Senate elections as well. I would be pretty surprised if they didn't win the majority, as if you look at the map, this is a very favorable map for the GOP. Now, obviously, it is still possible for them to screw it up just like they did in 2022, but it definitely is a lot harder for them to screw up even compared to 2 years ago. Republicans are going to hold on to their seats in Texas and Florida. There's no doubt about that. Meanwhile, in the upper Midwest, Democrats are probably going to win Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. They currently hold all 3 of those seats. They're probably also going to hold their seats in Nevada and Arizona. Kari Lake is very likely to lose. She was a mistake. She should never be nominated by the Republican Party again. I get that members of the GOP, people in the party, do like her, but she just doesn't appeal to independent voters. And no matter how much you like her, it doesn't change the fact that people in the middle simply do not want to vote for her. And so those 2 races are basically gone for Republicans, but that isn't a problem because they are going to flip West Virginia. Joe Manchin is retiring. He'll be replaced by Jim Justice. And then we also have Montana with Tim Sheehy on track to unseat Democratic incumbent John Tester. It's going to be another big victory for Republicans. That gets them at 51. I would say that's their minimum right now. Ohio is obviously going to be very close, but I do have Bernie Moreno defeating Sherrod Brown with Donald Trump on the ballot at the top of the ticket. This is definitely a huge disadvantage for the Democrats. Trump is going to win Ohio by nearly 10 points. I mean, this is also J.D. Vance's home state. They really have a huge advantage, the Republicans, in this Ohio Senate race, and so that's why I do have Moreno pulling out a very narrow victory. And then in Nebraska, this is a race that shouldn't be competitive, but Republican incumbent Deb Fischer is facing a tough challenge from independent candidate Dan Osborne. Honestly, pretty embarrassing for her, but I do have her pulling out a small victory, probably by less than 5 points, maybe up to 7, but it's nothing. It's not going to be spectacular. It's not going to be a solid margin like you typically expect this race to go. And so, yeah, I guess I just want to finish off by, just going over some expectations that I have for the night. I would say that on the night of the 5th to the morning of the 6th, we'll have a pretty good idea of who's going to win. We'll see the numbers come out of North Carolina, Georgia, Pennsylvania. It is likely that just like in 2020, these early numbers will favor Republicans a little bit more. We'll probably be able to know whether or not Trump is going to be able to hold on to Arizona with the ballots that are coming out. In 2020, of course, Fox News projected it early for Joe Biden. I would expect such an early projection made for Donald Trump this time around. I would say that Georgia, Arizona, North Carolina, I think on election night, we can be pretty confident that Trump is going to win, or if he doesn't, we'll be pretty confident that he's going to lose. But I would say it's much more likely that he does win them. And depending on how well he performs in those 3 states, we'll have a good idea of how the Midwestern races in Nevada are going to go. Nevada is going to take a long time. It's a close race. They count very slowly. It could take almost up to a week for us to fully know who wins the Silver State, but ultimately Nevada is not going to matter nearly as much as the upper Midwest. We'll probably get a good feeling as to how these races will go. I would expect Pennsylvania, of course, to lean slightly in favor of Trump, and if we're seeing that, then if you're a Trump supporter, you should be feeling pretty good. If he's lacking there, that might be a cause for some worry, but Wisconsin, Michigan are also definitely possible for Trump. Surprises happen all the time. I wouldn't be surprised if Trump wins with Wisconsin instead of Pennsylvania, but as of right now, I do of course see Pennsylvania as being the most likely. And so that will be it for this video. Obviously, you can tune in to my stream on YouTube at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. You can also follow me on Twitter at electiontime_. This is where I'll be posting all of my projections for all the presidential races, the key Senate races, the key governor races as well. So make sure you follow me on Twitter to stay updated with all of the projections. And so that will be it for this video, covering this race for 4 years. Thank you guys to those that have stuck with me for all 4 years, or if you joined in 2022 or just earlier this year. It really means a lot to have your continued support. And so yeah, that'll be it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Help us get to 300,000, and make sure you tune in to the stream later tonight.